People become waves over time.
Welcome to the Ripple Effect of Paying It Forward, a podcast brought to you by the African Woman Entrepreneurship Cooperative. Doing good is good for business. Corporations are forced to do good. Women-owned businesses already do good. When one of these businesses grows, the whole community benefits. How do we know? We have measured that for the past 7 years. For every woman who is directly impacted at a work, 10 secondary people, her family, friends, community, and network are positively impacted. These women are creating ripple effects in their communities. Every day, their businesses paid forward through mentorship, building thought leadership, training other women, and launching community initiatives. Join us as we uncover how your pebbles can cause lasting ripples. Mentorship can be a defining factor for entrepreneurs. Studies show that 89% of entrepreneurs wish they had one to help them navigate their often isolating and scary entrepreneurial journey. This conversation will explore how these business relationships has shaped our mentors, their mentees, their biggest lessons learned, and the challenges they've had to navigate together. Whether you're a mentor, a mentee, or considering taking on either role, there is something valuable in this conversation. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today in this wonderful conversation about mentorship. So we'll be talking about mentorship within a work and how we can be able to give back even beyond a work, and what mentorship looks like in our day-to-day life. So I am joined with two mentors and two mentees, and they'll be sharing their journey through the lens of mentorship and how they are paying it forward through their businesses and the other things that they are doing. So I'll start with asking a question to the two mentors that I have, Kudzai and Doris. And my first question to you is, why did you volunteer as a mentor and what impact have you seen? So maybe we can start with Doris.
Thank you very much. My motivation to volunteer is as a result of a shared purpose. I had set a target to impact a certain number of women by a certain date. This is around the year 2018, 2019. So I was looking for different strategies to hit my target. And when I was recommended to AWEC, I found it as a very good way to work towards that target number of women I intend to impact. How has the journey been? Very impactful for myself, and it's also been amazing to see the growth in my mentees.
Okay. For Kudzai, I know you serve in the AWAC board and you're also volunteering as a mentor. So why did you choose to give back in those two ways?
Yeah, I think, having a very strong and long corporate background, there's certain things we learned along the way that what I could see is that it could benefit a lot of entrepreneurs. And that is really just around information. People have passion, people know what to do, they know how to operate their businesses. But a lot of what I could bring to help their business processes and to help them as entrepreneurs was what I had learned in the corporate world. So I saw that as a huge opportunity to give back in a way that took very little from me, to be honest with you, but would benefit them quite a lot. So I think the growth opportunity was massive. How it's benefited me, the rare opportunity you get to deep dive into someone's business. This is rare. In 6 years, 5 mentees per year, 30 different businesses, I get to really deep dive in and get to know and to understand. As a wealth of knowledge that I've gained. And as a result, when I started, I was still in my full-time job employed, and now I run my own company. So, and that no doubt has been inspired by a lot of the ladies I've come across.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you very much. For the mentees, I'd want to hear if you have any piece of advice that one of your mentors gave you and how it impacted your business. Maybe we can start with Mami.
Okay, so for me, what she always told me every time when we started a mentor-mentee relationship, I thought it was sort of like writing a letter to God and having an answer back. So okay, I'll come and tell her all of my problems and she just give me the answers and I'll just go implement it into my business. But what I realized that every time I took a problem to her, she'll ask me to take a step back. Because as business owners, we're always looking at the problem from our perspective, right? And we never get that rare opportunity to step back and see it from other ways. And when I began to do a lot of those exercises that I went through with her, it opened up so many opportunities and it also changed my perspective on how I was viewing certain issues in my business. Is that like there was a new awakening for me all of a sudden. So that's one of the amazing things that she did for me.
Do you have like one good example of something you did, like an...
Yes, interestingly, it doesn't really relate to business per se, but in the beginning, I was very overwhelmed. Every time we met, I was like tired, like I can do this, I need to stop. And we had this exercise that she did with me. It was a breathing exercise. It really helped me relax and focus. And that day I had so much energy and so much clarity. Like it was even visible from the beginning of our conversation. And like 2 hours later, I was feeling much more, I felt like, okay, I can do this. I can take the reins again and plow back into my business. So that was really helpful and practical.
And I think if I can chip in there.
Yes.
I am a professional coach. So I did leverage some of my experience as a coach, executive and a team coach with all the experience. So sometimes I bring in a positive intelligence coach as well. So sometimes I bring some of these things to benefit the client.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of mentorship. It's holistic. Yeah. She can advise you about a family issue that is making you not focus in your business. So yeah. So thank you so much for that, Nobs.
Wow. Kudzai was such an amazing mentor. When I started the AWEC program, I had just given birth. So it had been 2 days since I gave birth. And there was just a lot happening. It was also at a time where I couldn't take maternity leave. And it was frustrating because I'd been in business for so long. But then the other issue was that I had other businesses. So I think the best advice he gave me was that I was spread too thin. I needed to find where's my passion, where is my focus, and put my energy into that, because with the 100% I had, I couldn't give it to any one business. I was busy there, being a new mom, and it had been so long. So trying to figure that out. And then this led to very difficult conversations at home. With my husband. We weren't speaking for a month after a conversation with my mentor. But it also led to me needing to close one of my businesses, retrench about 35 employees in that business. But basically that business, we weren't making any money. So he also made me do the numbers. So I'd have activities where I have to go back and actually do the numbers properly and clearly. And that really helped. So it helped me make decisions, which after that 1 month, my husband and I started sleeping peacefully and things were very nice at home, because for the past 3 years, we were not sleeping peacefully. It was a business that was really giving us such a headache. And I couldn't focus on the core and the business that was actually going to sustain us, our employees, the community, and the work that we did. So that was great advice. Difficult, but yeah.
Yeah, the results are impactful. So maybe you can just talk a little bit about the emotional stress that you probably went through, because I know many women go through the same process where you have to shut down something, but you've invested so much that you don't want to let go. So maybe you can just mention something around that and let us know how you were able to deal with that and to let it go and to let 35 employees go. I think that was quite a decision that you made.
Yes. So it was very difficult. I mean, quite emotional. When we had the conversation, I didn't like it much, but it was an honest conversation. It's something I knew. But I think there'd also been a lot of emotion attached to that business, considering how old some of the employees were, knowing that some of them might struggle to get a job after this. They're out of the job market. So we had people who were 65. We had people who also were in South Africa in the business. And also, I had stepped out of the business about 3 years prior. I stepped out of operations. So I had handed over operations to my husband. So he then felt, here's the big boss coming in and shutting things down, you know? Not that it happened that way. We did have a conversation, but he still felt this is where it's actually going. So it was really difficult. And I think also having a newborn added to that because I was very stressed. Yeah, we are ladies here. Awake. So I was breastfeeding, but I struggled with that. So eventually I had to give up. So 2.5 months in, it just wasn't working out. I was just under a lot of stress, under a lot of pressure, and there was just a lot of emotion. And I think also meeting with all 35 employees to tell them that we are needing to close the business was very difficult. You know, we were all crying during that Saturday morning. But fortunately, it was such a blessing that all 35 got absorbed or employed by our clients. So it meant that they got to continue working. So that also was a good omen or sign that this was a good decision, you know, and I couldn't have gotten there. Yeah. So
Congratulations for taking that bold move. Yeah. All right. So my next question is to the mentors. I would want you to share as a moment that you got to give an advice to your mentee and you saw them succeed and you probably felt, I'm really proud of this person. You can mention their names. They don't have to be cohort 7. They could be other people that you've mentored along the way. So just take us through that experience and how it has been. Good side.
Yeah, I mean, 30 mentees over the last 6 years. That's a hard question to narrow down. I think Nob's story that she just mentioned is always a special one to me because I remember that first call, and I remember the first email. We had to postpone the first call by a month because she came back to me and said, "No, I've just had a baby, but can we do it next week?" I said, "No, you can't do it next week. You've just had a baby. We need to, I think we postponed it by a month or two." And then the first call we had was tough, and I usually don't, but you could see she was not doing well, and it just doesn't feel good when someone is, doing so much, but they're not getting the results they want. So I think that's one, and that comes full circle because she's been away from her main business for the last 7 months, doing something in the UK, and the business is flying without her. So I sort of said to her the other day, a couple of days ago, now you can go back and look at the other businesses, And so for me, that's really great. And I think the second is I'll speak about Maureen, who's from Ghana, who runs a company called Bowani Consult, and she is a trainer. Is really a customer service trainer. And when I met her, that's cohort 2, I think. Her business had really just started, and she had a very specific business model in mind. And she had started, but she wasn't really seeing the financial gains. She was doing mystery shopping. She was doing this. So we spent a lot of time talking about how can we grow different revenue lines. And she actioned things very quickly. By the time we were done with her 1 year, I think she had more than doubled her revenue. And her business even now is so busy. She's based in Accra where we are today. She said, I just don't have time to meet up. I'm out of town, and she's coming back in, so we'll meet her later today. But and I'll highlight a couple of really important things in that story. She does training in customer service, physical training. Her trainings are always full. COVID hit, and I said, Maureen, you've got to go online. This is the only way your business is going to survive. And it wasn't what she wanted to do, but she really embraced that, understood how to monetize her digital presence, how to monetize training online. And as a result, I think, she's had really phenomenal growth. So I think for me, if there's one summary I would put is the people that I've seen gain most from mentoring, it has a lot to do with how quickly you action things. I think if Nobs had waited another 2 months to then action it, she would have had less conviction. because you now start thinking, I don't know if that dude really knew what he was talking about. And then, less conviction, deal with the team. Eventually, but the business is not killing us. We're still making money. It's okay. And then in the end, you don't action it. So I think that quick, swift action, and a business owner taking that advice very seriously, I think, that's some of my key takeaways as to, making a difference.
Awesome. Thank you. Doris? There are two instances that immediately come to mind. And one is for cohort 6 and one for cohort 7. In the case of cohort 6, this is Mercy. Mercy graduated with about 4 awards at the ceremony, and she had been very consistent, soaking in all the learning that she could gain out of a work. There was a peculiar leadership challenge she had, and I had to work with her through. I would not like to fully disclose it here, but we had to literally get into a daily habit formation. And every day there was an activity she had to do thrice, and she would drop me a notice saying that she has done them. And I think this confirms the importance of taking action immediately and also taking action consistently. When we do coaching sessions and when we have mentoring sessions, especially for the commitments that the person makes, you want to check when they intend to action them. And the sooner they tell you they are intending to action them, the more serious you can tell that they are. And if it's going to take a while before the action, you can almost be sure that the action will not end up being taken. So this was her case. And in the end, when she had developed the competency, the new habits, she actually got profiled by LinkedIn. Evidence of having clearly overcome that challenge which she had. And today she's contributing, I think, in some podcasts for the alumni initiative. So, and this attests to when they take seriously the work that we do with them, the entrepreneurs during the mentoring. The second one I want to reference is actually based in Nigeria. So Mercy is based in Kenya. And the second one is Eno. Eno belongs to cohort 7. And she runs a bookshop and also runs a grocery shop. She needed support with her human capital strategy. She was overwhelmed. She couldn't separate herself from the business. The business was her. She had to be there. She had to be in charge, in control of everything. And she also had other family commitments that required that she should be able to step away from the business. But this was a major headache. So I advised her on her human capital strategy. One of the key changes she had to effect was to take a decision on a very loyal staff, but who was not competent and was not really contributing to her business. It was a difficult one to take again, like your case. The age was not favorable. The competency level was going to make it difficult, but certain aspects of her attitude was not tenable, was not supportive of the growth that the business was looking forward to. It was also clear that she was not getting value from her people strategy. She had brought staff on board, but the staff are not meaningfully contributing to her business and the business growth. So why are they there? And I think the human capital strategy was something that came up in a few of the other scenarios. I think you also had to deal with something like that. Yes. So she had to design job descriptions because the people had been recruited because she needed hands and she just brought them on board. Now she had to determine what it is she needed her people to contribute in the business. And that's enshrined in a job description. She designed the job description. We set timelines. She shared them and I had to review. And then she had to design adverts, go through selection interview, and make sure that the people she was selecting are people competent with the right attitudes and mindset. And today she's very happy, satisfied. The business is grown. She had registered, I think she reported 20% growth in revenue. Yes, in her last report to AWEC. So that's a beautiful one there. And she's happier and freer when she has to move away from the business. She's thinking about bringing on board additional business lines that should contribute to the revenue streams for her. I think you also came up with a new business line. You want to shed light on that?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I'd love to hear that.
So my business was very unstructured when I met her. So it was like I was just doing everything. And the thing about me is I have ideas, like a lot of them. So similar to her, I have my hands in this and that and this. But then she brought a lot of, okay, you have to focus on this first because you're in A-work for this. You can do the other ones once we scale this and we get this right. So there was a human capital issue. I knew I had to grow and there was no way I was going to grow without a team. And for a long time, I had done everything by myself, like packaging, operations, talking to my workers, getting designs done. Everything was on me. And I was also afraid because I kept on hearing, stay lean. You're just in the beginning of the nascent stages of growth. You have to stay lean. Don't employ too many people, but who do I bring on board? And because I had people on board who I hired just out of need and not really evaluate, like, is this person going to really contribute based on their competence? They just came and I had to fire them. They come and I had to fire them. Like, what is going on? What is happening? So when we did that exercise, I realized that I had to design a system. I needed that system, and we spoke about that yesterday in your session. So I had the job descriptions. I knew exactly what they were going to do. They were going to be paid based on this, and this, and it brought so much clarity. And they're still working in the business now, and it's getting better. So I think those key takeaways were really important for me.
So I think another interesting thing I want to highlight here is how it is that entrepreneurs forget to set clear KPIs against which they are going to evaluate the performance of the people they are bringing onto their teams. So they recruit, the people come, and then they have to pay them, and it becomes a struggle because I'm paying you and I'm not sure. You need to communicate that clearly to them. This is what I hired you for. And you get remunerated for delivering that. If you are not delivering what I hired you for, that's an underperformance, and we need to take a decision on you.
Thank you very much. My next question would be about the myths of mentorship. What are some of the myths that you've had as a mentor or as a mentee, and how can SMEs mostly get to a space of mentorship and get someone to work with them? Maybe someone watching this, they may not have an opportunity to join AWORK or do a program like this, but how can they be able to get mentorship within their industry, within wherever they are? Where do they start?
I mean, I think that's a very good question. I can tell you where not to start. Don't send people LinkedIn messages that you don't know saying, please, can you be my mentor? I say that jokingly, but that happens a lot and it's incredibly ineffective. But, I think there's a lot of opportunities around networking events. There's a lot of opportunities around putting yourself out there. There's a lot of opportunities around being around people you aspire to be. I enjoy mentoring people, and I have enjoyed mentoring people where I see them drive the relationship. I see them work the advice that we provide. So what I tend to see is I also enjoy personally mentoring people that are not in my industry. And I think a lot of people, when they look for mentors, they look for people within their industry. But sometimes that's not always best because, you want people that can give you a different perspective altogether from what you have. So I think it's very important for budding entrepreneurs to, one, put yourself out there. So attend networking events, read the newspaper, know what's happening, attend trainings. Because as a mentor, I also want to mentor someone I'm interested. It's never nice to feel like you're mentoring someone who just wants to take, but you want to learn from them as well. So I think I can speak to so many mentors I've had over the years. At Sharon out of Kenya, who does an audiovisual business, and it took me a good 2 or 3 calls to really understand how her business works and how they make money in that business. And thereafter, I was able to help her. But at this point, I also understand how the audiovisual business works. So I think when a mentee or potential mentee is genuine and authentic in how they present themselves and present their business, and then finally approach someone, I think you've created a relationship with that person where they think, look, I think I can add value and I think I can gain some value. So I would encourage people that let it not always be about take. Let it also be a bit of give. I think she mentioned a couple of things where I'm sure there's some techniques that, she tried on you or another man and they really worked. And she probably took back to her business as a coach and said, yeah, you know what, actually, I've seen, if we do this, it works. So we've got this program. Let's see how we can further enhance it. So I think there is a lot of authenticity that is required, especially if you're out there trying to find a mentor.